Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This is your host, Becky McNattin, along with host Tara Martini. We're glad to have you listening this morning as we live and share stories of mental health. And today, we have guest Erica Johnson joining us. Welcome, Erica.
Hi. So exciting.
We are so glad to have you here. Can't wait to talk with you. In the U.S., about 72% of adults are in a romantic relationship. And this includes those who are married, dating, or cohabitating. And to me, that says that this country has a high importance on the emotion of romantic love. So whether it's seeking it, sharing it, building it, nurturing it, maybe wondering what it is, most definitely how to keep it. Mm-hmm. Americans value the experience of being part of a couple. And it's a huge topic that we receive a lot of questions. Tara and I receive a lot of questions from listeners about. So it felt really important to do a show specifically on couples, and spectrum of topics within the lives of a couple is so vast. And so for today in this episode, we are focusing more specifically on connection. And Erica, you are a therapist that really enjoys working with couples, which is why you're here today, and have a background in training in specific areas for couples therapy. We can't wait to ask you a bunch of questions about connection and couples. But first, tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
My name's Erica. Now Nesvig. Now married. So
congratulations, girl.
Erica Nesvig.
Erica Nesvig. Yeah, it's confusing. Depends where you catch me because it's a different name depending. I'm a therapist. LPCC licensure. I've been working with couples for about, not quite 10 years, but like some less than 10 years, but not whatever. 10.
Have you always worked with couples?
No, started individuals, and then noticed themes, right, of how important relationships are in people's lives. And then I got really into like Esther Perel's work and was like, this is really important and fascinating. So started down that rabbit hole. And now I see couples, I see adult individuals, and I've started to do sex therapy. So that's also a huge part of it, too, which has been a personal journey and also like a professional journey all in one. So it's been great. So
You're always growing.
Always growing.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. And how is working with couples different from working with individuals then?
I think it's a little bit more complex. It's trying to gather two people's individual histories in one.
Sure.
Like, a lot of observing, a lot of like watching. It's more dynamic. And also so great to have the other person in the room, especially half the time with an individual. They're talking about their partner. They're referencing their partnership. And to the point where I'm like, if we're talking about them every single week, they need to be here.
That's a great point.
It's if you don't hear it, because I'm like, we're getting one side of the story. It's so important to like, and then you learn so much as that they're observing them, how they interact or don't interact. It's also these conversations, like, let's have them.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of, there's a lot of non-communication going on.
Right.
So.
Well, and how much work can be done if you're just focusing on one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Right.
And individual work is so crucial to doing, anything, I'd say. But for the most part, if you're like, we're talking about them every single time.
Right.
I want to hear from them.
Yeah.
How often would you say that you see couples who are sharing challenges around connecting to one another?
All of them.
Okay.
Right?
So because connection is it's a big topic.
Yep.
It's vast in terms of what does connection mean? What does it look like? How do we have it? So you're saying essentially every couple you work with talks about challenges in connecting with their significant other. Yeah.
In one way or another, right? Whatever life phase. I mean, whether it's like early marriage, just trying to combine families, having children, your sex life, intimacy, growing. I mean, all of it.
All the things.
All the things.
It's all connection.
We're going to keep talking about connection after the commercial break. All specifics around couples therapy and how you can seek meaningful connection in your own romantic relationships. Thank you for tuning in to Feels Out Loud. We will be right back after this commercial break.
All you got to do now. Nothing to lose.
Welcome back to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. I'm Tara Martini, along with Becky McNattin. Let's get right back to our discussion about fostering connection with couples with the fabulous Erica Nesvig.
Erica, we are talking about all things connection in the life of a couple today. And I can't help but think about the way we show up as individuals to the romantic relationship and how much that matters. Mel Robbins says, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. If someone hasn't done the work, they can't meet you where you want them to. And that's okay. Let them be who they are and focus on what you can control. Your actions, your peace, and your growth. What would you say about this and how it relates to connection in couples?
I love Mel Robbins. The let them theory is great.
Yeah.
She's not wrong.
Right.
She's 100% correct. I think the issue comes it depends on what your expectations are or what your needs are, right?
Okay.
So individually getting them met, great. Especially if you feel, you've done your individual work, you understand your own stuff. But then bringing that into relationship, where is the connection then? Mm-hmm. It's the sharing, it's the interdependency model, right? Of you're an individual, I'm an individual. We what makes you happy, and I love that makes you happy. Mm-hmm. It's how you have to understand that about the other person.
Okay.
So even if you're both fully realized humans, at some point you have to share that too of what does that look mean for you? Mm-hmm. How can I support it? And how do we get each other's needs met?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That at some point we have to foster the discussion or dialogue about our own self-awareness.
Right.
Because that is what connection is.
Yep.
Well, and I know, it's not absurd to expect your partner to meet your needs at some level. Whatever, appropriately so. And there's a lot of people, feeling guilt about, they can't do that, they don't need to meet that need. I think that can go into overdrive.
Okay.
And I'm there are needs that you can, again, give or take, and depends on the situation, but your partner can try to meet that need if it's really important for you.
Okay. So what do you think, of all the things, what do you see as the major roadblocks or barriers for couples who are seeking connection?
Well, there's the classic Gottman stuff, the four, we all know the criticism, contempt, defensive, stonewalling, all of that, absolutely. I think the biggest roadblock I see often is my favorite one, which is where you just don't take the bid. If your partner makes a bid for your connection and you just shut it down.
Yeah.
Or
or ignore it.
As simple as wanna watch a movie tonight with me. Just not even observing, noting, picking up on that, and just no.
Kind of a direct rejection
of
of the
little,
attempt.
and it can be
And
so
a
many.
tiny little.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we might have listeners who aren't familiar with Gottman or even know what that is.
Sure, I went through that really quick.
So maybe back up and just say what that is, and then those four things again.
So John Gottman, very famous researcher, has done, it's way too much research for me to ever be able to reference all of it on couples, and has gotten down to where he can predict if couples are going to make it or not, if they're going to divorce. And his the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, he calls them, of dead end, it's over, the relationship is done, is criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
Okay.
So if those are showing up constantly in your relationship, that it's done.
Okay. And if you notice, though, that those would be huge barriers to connection because those are the kind of weapons against connection.
Right. They're nonstop. They're always cycling through. Or even you make I'm trying to connect with you and you criticize me or, contempt all of it. It's done.
Okay.
Wow.
I shouldn't say it's done. It's those are things
You
to
just
work
fear
through. That
every listener instill the fear of what? But I've done that once.
we've all seen the defensive. If you
Yes.
sit and watch it, and even in a session.
Oh, yes.
If one partner cannot take accountability, is very defensive to the point where my stomach starts to hurt. It is it's
Wow.
we're not going to get anywhere. There's no traction. I just need you to acknowledge something here.
Right.
Yeah, because part of what you're referencing is these 4 horsemen as unacknowledged pieces of a relationship.
Yes.
So part of what you're referencing is there are things that could be done in terms of seeking connection, building or repairing relationship, if those continue and are not acknowledged, then those are relational enders.
So normalized, right? If this is what our relationship is, I ask him to do something, he says no, and that I just go do it my own thing then.
Right.
It's fine. We've normalized that. We just do that now. But
it's a pattern now.
To ask, like, where's the connection? We don't really have one. We just live together. We, we co-parent.
You're roommates.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So along that, would you say that there are myths about connection between a couple?
Absolutely. Where was I? Because I wrote something about that, and I can't remember where I put it. Yeah. Oh, I think a big myth is that like going on a couples retreat is going to fix everything.
Oh, yeah.
It made a good movie. Okay. But
and like
maybe not realistic.
If you remove yourself, and if that's what you want to do it, right? It can't hurt. You go away for a month, 2 weeks, have all the care, the nurturing, all of the things in life that make it stressful away, and you connect. Great. I think that can be really helpful, but in the long run, I think it's the daily interactions that make the difference.
Right.
Actual, because that is your actual life. And there's so much research to support like stress, work, kids, that all
the facets. Yeah.
And yes, of course, if you remove all of it, you're going to probably have time to talk. How can you do that when all of that stuff is still happening?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe a good jump start, right, to your healing.
Totally.
Going away on that weekend or that week.
Connecting on a vacation, great.
Right. But it's not a solution.
Yes. Or to say, we'll just do this again.
That's a good point.
And that is true. I shouldn't knock it. But what about all the stuff in between?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I hear you saying about myth around connection is almost an expectation of this is what connection requires. And you're saying, hey, if we're setting up the requirement for a connection to include this, it's kind of unreasonable that we don't have an opportunity to go on a 2-week immersive retreat or even a weekend immersive retreat, even on a regular basis.
Even a regular date night.
Yes. And so looking realistically at what connection is and not necessarily saying, well, in order for connection to happen and for the relationship to be what we're looking for it to be, it needs to have this thing. It might not. So, along that then, what is daily life? Like getting into, you mentioned daily life here. What would a daily life circumstance that fosters connection for a couple be?
Connection, nonverbal communication. I think the thing I try to coach a lot, I don't love using the word coach, that I try to encourage a lot of is name the trait you see in your partner. And if that was really thoughtful of you, that was very kind of you, thank you, a language of appreciation, right? But not, in a very adaptable way. If you point out the trait you see, it's helping your partner see that trait in themselves as well. It's like the added layer of strengthening a connection instead of just thanks for doing that. It's thank you, that was so thoughthtul.
Yeah. And
name the trait.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're saying not necessarily highlight the product or the task.
Yeah.
Thank you for unloading the dishwasher. You're saying I appreciate your thoughtfulness, or that was so thoughtful of you. That I really like that in the naming the trait on a daily life basis.
Yeah.
Well, and a universal thing, right? It doesn't have to be a marriage. A lot of what you're sharing today, for those people who are like, well, I'm not in one of these relationships. One, that's okay. These can be applied to, I think of parent to child or teacher to child or roommate to roommate.
Friendships.
Yes, all these things. Name that trait. I love that.
It's just it just creates a different type of language around it too. Right? Makes it a little bit different than just thanks.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to say thank you. But it shows you were listening and observing if you name the trait.
And I think it's Esther Perel who talks about how marriage, the myth of, vows, getting marriage that are really heavy and very all or nothing in it till death do us part.
Yep.
And she talked about it was a New York Times article once about that real vows are more I'm going to mess up a lot and every now and then I'll be able to admit to it.
And well said.
That is brilliant.
And that's also what it is. We're gonna we have our patterns, we have our things, and sometimes I'm able to say, "Hey, I'm sorry about that. I was kind of short," or "Hey, that was on me. I had a bad day."
Right. Yeah.
And that is so powerful. If you've ever felt that type of validation from your partner or friend or anyone where they're like, they just named it and that helped.
And owned it.
Yes.
And owned
That's
it. Well, this show particularly, this radio show is focused on mental health and mental wellness. How do you think, or how would you say mental health impacts connection for couples?
Oh, how does it not? I mean, if you're not, this is where the individual pieces come in. If you're going through it, it's really hard to have capacity for other people, to have empathy for other, if you can barely do it for yourself, let alone another person around you, huge. And sometimes there's, life things that people are going through that impact this, and your partner can be really understanding and really supportive. But at some point, it's like being honest about, I don't have much to give right now.
Right.
And I think Brene Brown talks about that, coming home and saying, I'm at,
well, yeah, it's never
0%.
50-50.
Yeah.
It's one day I may need to give 90 because my spouse can only give 10.
Yeah.
And that is okay, because one of those myths is that a relationship is 50-50 all the time. And it's just not true. No. It's not how the real world works.
No. I don't know if I've ever seen one. I don't know if I've been one like that.
Well, and you make me think about something that by itself, a couple, if they are interested in connection, simply acknowledging that mental health and mental wellness is a part of the relationship is also key, because I think sometimes we think of connection as only being these happy, joyful feelings.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Or this, I don't know, it's all peace-filled and we're watching a TV show together and we're laughing.
Yes.
That the recognition of connection is my truest self, my authentic self. And so saying my mental health is struggling right now, or being able to vocalize that and be vulnerable with our significant other is critical, because then we're connecting on something that feels real
and deeper, right? If you have that willingness and ability to say, wow, I can barely show up today.
Well, and you're bringing up of connection, couples feeling like we can do this if everything's good. What happens when things aren't good? Or we go through problems, which nobody plans for the most part. It really, that type of communication and being able to be accountable for, I'm not doing okay. Are you still going to be there? Are you going to be able to handle this? Can I be my authentic self with you? Big. It's shocking how much that is a norm for people to not know that they're going to be okay if I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, in an ideal world, right, we all want the same values, then those things with our partner, but that's not realistic. So how can people connect if they do value different things? Because that is probably pretty common.
Do you have specific values you're referring to, or just in general?
You can define it however you want.
Because I think it's if the way I fill my time, the way my hobbies, my interests, apps, super easy, especially, again, interdependence model of what makes you happy makes me happy.
Okay. Learning those new things, if you're interested in swimming.
Or just the cosign, right? Of you love to do that. It makes you happy. I witnessed that. Great. Go do that. I don't have
to. It doesn't have to be participation.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Within reasonable balance of that. Or this is how I recharge. This is how you recharge. I support it. I see what you're doing. You're recharging. Got it. I think bigger values, especially in the world we live in now. Yes, I think you're able to make it work. Respect. I think the number one essential part in any successful relationship is respect. Can we have conversations? Can I respect you enough as a person to know if we disagree about something?
Right.
I can understand why this is a big deal to you, or why this matters to you. And if you can understand why I don't feel the same way.
Well, and I would assume so important to have those conversations before you take a step.
Yes, ideally. It doesn't always happen, but yes.
And maybe to know what you value.
Yes.
Right.
Because part of what you're referencing is that values are anything from what do I value around what replenishes me from energy? You just said that. Am I a person who connection is sitting at home and watching a television show together, and the significant other connection is going out to a concert and being amidst a huge crowd of people? They need different things. And so that would be value laden. You're talking about maybe even political views or how you see relationships, who should division of tasks,
family,
family.
That sometimes it takes a conflict to actually even realize what our values are. So when you're saying this awareness of self, it puts that into action when we say at some point the work we've done on us has to be conveyed to our significant other, our romantic partner, because that is where the connection happens. Even sharing what the values are it can help us meaning make and offer respect to the person because we might know where they're coming from a little bit then.
Yes. And then this is the growth model, right? Of like, we're growing together. This changes or evolves. Sometimes surprises us of like, I didn't know I felt that strongly about that. I felt this then. Now I feel this now. Family planning is a big one of those. If it's, I always thought I did, now I don't, or, having children, big communication piece, especially in couples work that we face. And there's not right or wrong, right? It's not, this is the right way, this is the wrong way. It's just, this is different. We just have different views on this.
Right.
Yeah. And so often couples share poor communication as a problem in their relationships. I want to know your thoughts about why that is, and certainly how you think communication fosters connection.
I mean, communication is, like, to me, the essence of connection, right? And I'm both nonverbal or verbal or, any type, even like via text, via email. Like that is the
There's so many options.
Yes, that's the if you, again, it feels silly to be like, what would you do without that? I think you have to. When we see this not work, it's someone's really turning away from the other partner's attempts, or you're just not seeing it, or don't want to, or enough has happened, or you're so shut down that you just you can't make any type of attempt at connect or communicating. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
Yep.
And that you then in a therapeutic space, you would be helping couples with this.
Yeah.
They're coming to meet with you as a clinician, and they're bringing those struggles with what's likely operationalizing as connection, but is rooted in communication, because you're saying it is the essence of connection, and you're helping them practice in a session what that might look like.
Yes.
And have a safe space to process the feelings or thoughts that come from, I don't know, the past relational wounds that are impacting capacity to connect, or our trust that communication is going to work out okay. So that's what you're doing.
Even the mundane, right? Like, how was your day? How is this coworker? How's this? But like anything that's like your inner world, just sharing any of that. That's communication. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's serious, but that is knowing someone.
Well, and it's that idea of, by asking simple things like that, you're showing that you care, right? And you want to know.
Yes.
Now, as far as you looked at, and we talked about earlier about like points of connection and, being aware of attempting to make those, it says for couples who spend time together on a weekly basis, they report higher levels of relational satisfaction. What would you say to that?
In my notes, full disclosure to this question, I wrote, duh. As snotty as that sounds.
No, it's a duh to us, but there's people out there that are like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's the earlier question too of, right? Like, this is connection. It's communicating. I'm actually around you. And that's not to say couples that aren't physically around each other doesn't mean you can't have a deep connection.
Right.
You absolutely can. But yes, if you spend weekly time together, you're probably going to have a better knowledge of each other, knowing of each other.
Okay, but now here's my follow-up question, though. Spending time together weekly, does that mean sitting at our kids' hockey practice or driving in the car, running errands? Or are you talking about like intentional time, like going out to dinner, going for a walk?
Both. I mean, that's a good point, right? It's easy to say if you are childless and just you have tons of time together, you're always just, let's go on a walk. Let's do these fun things. Sometimes, even if it is like we're ships in the night. Like, you have this, you take the kids here, I go do this, we manage this. you're still a team. I don't think that's bad, but it is a thing people come to couples a lot is we are around each other, but we have no connection.
Right.
If we talk,
which could come so easily if you have busy schedules.
And so it is like, okay, we'll find an hour to connect. Sure. Ideally, again, that would work. It doesn't always happen. They're also like values, respect for the other person, seeing them be a parent, seeing them be busy. But I know there's a big part of like my partner is so busy all the time. I'm proud of them, but I never see them or talk to them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And this is the healthy types of conflict. And again, an interdependent model, not codependence. I love who you are. I respect it. I think you're great. I do need parts of that too sometimes. And how can we make that a thing?
Right. And feeling safe enough to say that.
Can we prioritize this? And can you understand where I'm coming from with this? It's these healthy ways to explore options for what your relationship can be like.
I recently read that if couples want to improve connection, they need to deepen validation. We talk about validation a lot on this show in all sorts of different ways, but they need to deepen validation with one another. And this could be reflecting back what someone has heard, certainly practicing empathy, even using I statements or reflecting about our own personal experience. Are there things that you tell couples to try when they look to increase validation? And I think you would say validation has an impact on connection. But if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, the emotion-focused therapy lens you're talking about, right, is validation. It's required. And in session, we do a lot of legit sit down, validate your partner. They just said this.
Okay.
This is how you validate. You don't, no. Here are all the reasons why that didn't happen. I hear you. You're saying this. You had a bad day. Okay. Like it's literal practice.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that teaching and that modeling and coaching piece.
And I tell couples there's no relationship without validation and accountability. Any type of, you will not have one. Because that goes back to the defensiveness, always just pushing away. If you can't hear where they're coming from and at least stop and just let them talk, it won't happen. You don't have to endorse and agree. You just have to listen and hear.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's important, what you just said right there.
Yeah, Tara and I just did a show a few weeks ago around active listening, and we talked about how frequently a myth that we hear as therapists is this idea of, in order to validate you, I need to agree with you. And so until I can agree with you, I can't validate you. So we look to either discount what someone's saying, or we try to say, well, this is why I can't validate you, because I don't really like what you're saying, or what you're saying isn't true. And then we've now missed the point on not only effective listening, but we've missed the point around connection. So for us to kind of tolerate, I might not agree at all with what you've just said. And when you talk about someone saying, I've had a hard day, you might think they had the easiest day.
You were home all day. You did that. What do you mean you had a hard day?
You might be in your own head, even having the
judgment.
Yeah, this distress around like
a narrative, an assumption. This is the assumptions made. That's always. You said this, and I made 30 assumptions in my head about what you just said. It means this. I filled in the narrative for you. I said, you had a long day. Oh, really? Because it's just I know where you're going to, it's that, the jumping to conclusion, the assuming negative, not even negative intent all the time, but just like, I'm filling this in for you.
Yeah.
That's a major struggle. When you can clock it, that's great. Again, you might not always be able to. Even if then be like, ooh, I just did it. I just made about 30 different conclusions about you without even actually hearing where you're at.
Yeah. And you bring up something that probably happens a lot in connection with couples, that someone says something like, I've had a hard day, and instantaneously the person makes it about them, and they're saying, oh, but I had a hard day too.
Competing.
So in order for me to validate you, I need you to hear me first. And what would you say to that?
And as a therapist or as a person in a relationship?
Both.
No. You said just now, if you can clock it, if you can notice that you're doing it, I hear you saying, call it out. Like say, oh my gosh, I just did that.
Yes.
Back to you.
If you can did you just hear it? Like I've done this in my own relationship where I'm like, look, everything I just said, you're really invalidating it right now. And I've done this with my own family. Sometimes it works if people can meet you where you're at. It doesn't always work. But it is like this ongoing attempt of like, I am trying to practice. And I think that's the other, if just because you've tried it and it didn't work doesn't mean it's not going to work again.
Great point.
This is hard. I can't stress. It's hard to break old habits. It's hard to let your defenses down, especially when they've been built up over years and years and years. And I'm not saying you have to all the time, but even just sometimes, like make room for my partner just vented off a million things to me. Can I hear them? Or do I now need to jump on that or shut down or whatever?
Yep.
If you truly can't do that ever, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some individual work.
Yes. Individual work. Yes. Whew.
Yep. So some couples therapists talk about the concept of, creating rituals or having that ritualizing connection, saying goodnight in a certain way, meals together. We talked about, going on a weekly date, whatever it is. Have you noticed this being really helpful in building the connection piece?
Yes. Especially its structure, especially for couples that truly need the, like, we don't know how to implement this into our week to week without being accountable to something.
Okay.
And it's so easy to say, we'll just do it next week. This week's been so busy.
Of course. Yeah.
And so especially if there's like disagreements about what the structure needs to be, so, like try something. Just see, like, hold yourselves accountable to this. See how it goes. If there's issues, let's talk about what didn't work.
Okay.
But at least start somewhere.
And do you mean like scheduling it so it's the same time each week or whatever it is?
Ideally, sure.
Because you're more likely then
the more you get slippery slopey, the easier it is to like not make it happen.
Right.
And so sometimes, depending on the situation, sometimes it's as simple as like, we're having a babysitter every Friday. We're going to go do this thing it doesn't matter what. The more options you add to it, it can get a little bit more simple. Okay. Just make it simple.
Yeah. I knew someone, a very good friend of mine, used to do Post-it notes on each other, on the mirror, in the bathroom in the morning. And their ritual was you had to show up in the morning with a Post-it note for your partner. And they did that every day. And to start the day with a message to the person about the day. And so that is not setting aside date night or planning big events. You're saying over and over again, it's the simplicity of these daily life moments that really are what make us feel most invested in as well.
Yes.
And then committing to those. So with this idea of ritualizing, what we're also telling our significant other is that you matter enough to prioritize the time for this ritual.
Yep.
Yes.
So this tradition of whatever we do, whatever it is and works for us, it matters enough to me to make the time for that thing.
Yes. I've taken that in. Even a check-in, like a weekly check-in of bring something that went really well, bring something we need to work on. And like being accountable to that. And you can't show up and say nothing.
Right.
Nothing. It's find something. Even if it's small, just something.
Well, and to Becky's point, how incredible that it doesn't have to be even you seeing each other face to face.
Yes.
Right? What a great point of connection with the Post-it note.
Yeah.
In that I can still be present with you and not be physically right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And such a thoughtful, simple thing that sounds remarkable.
Yeah, because I do think lives are busy. People do have different work schedules, or and sometimes we can get lost in rationalizing why we can't connect.
Right.
We can, and you probably find this as a therapist often, that in the intellectualization of our lives and what the responsibilities and duties are that we all have, that we then lose the capacity to think creatively about what connection can look like, because it doesn't have to be the extraordinary moments. No. Those that's what you mentioned at the beginning of the segment, even, that we don't, those are amazing, and and they're not like they're fantastic things potentially, but they're also not necessarily super realistic, and we don't need them in order to have the connection. And we don't actually even have to be in the same place, or it could be the ride to dropping off a kiddo at something, or it could be a text in between things for the day. We have capacity to think expansively about what connection looks like.
Diversify your types of connection. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you are trained in sex therapy. And so I want to spend a little bit of time thinking about what does building connection look like with intimacy specifically.
Talking about it. Like, so many people don't talk about it.
Kind of like bringing up our values.
Yes.
Which it can be rooted even in values.
Yes.
And why? Why do you think people don't talk about it? Because it is such a huge part of a relationship.
I don't think this country or any in the world has comprehensive sex education anywhere. And I think it is a topic that has so much attached to it, and bias, fears, trauma. We go off of the norms we grew up around, and oftentimes not all families, but often it's we never talked about it.
Right.
I never learned. Your learning was so basic, and you get into a relationship, and especially if you have really great sex early on in a relationship, you're like, we're good to go. And as we all know, you change, life happens, things happen, your body changes. Things aren't as simple or as fun as they used to be. And how do you talk through that without rejecting a partner, but saying, these are my needs. This is where my body's at. This feels good now. I used to love that. I don't anymore.
That's a great point, without it being, having them have a sense of rejection or criticism, that it's you as partners working together to be on that journey together, like you said.
I think a myth of it should just effortlessly happen. If we have to talk about it, that means there's problems, and that's bad.
Right.
That's a really good point. And what you're referencing also is this idea of vulnerability. Something like that might lead to things that feel very vulnerable. We maybe have more of a sensitivity to rejection or experience of shame. That are there things that a couple could practice talking about, because you say talking about it. Talking about that might be a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of vulnerability or shame or rejection sensitivity. Are there things people could practice talking about before that?
Yes. Again, I don't know if this would always be an individual therapy, but even your brainstorming, thinking through your own sexual development, tap into just a little bit of what has my relationship with sex been like? And you'll think of your sex ed courses. You'll think of your first early on experiences, things in the media you saw, things that were said during childhood that stuck with you. What's good, what's bad. All of that fosters your sexual relation, who you are now. And that just type of introspection can be really powerful, and just starting to even connect the dots of, I've never felt okay with this. I have so much shame around this. I've avoided it completely. It's coming up and I want to push it away.
Sure.
So I'm noticing that. What do I do with this? I need to go get help. I need to talk to someone. I need to talk to a friend. I need to, do other people do this? The internet exists. Someone told me today about a Reddit thread that's called, it's about people talking about their, what is it called again? I forgot the name. Something about bedrooms. People share their sexual struggles in their relationships. It's really authentic and very anonymous, safe, and it's so normalized.
Well, and like you said, I don't think what is normalized is what you said, a private and solo evaluation of your own history and how you viewed things and experienced things, which, oh my gosh.
Sexual health is health. Yeah. And even as a therapist, this was not trained to me. This was not a normal part of training. We glaze over it. It's uncomfortable. Everybody, most people, I should say, has a discomfort talking about sex.
Right.
Well, it's literally a separate certification that you've gotten.
Yes.
So you have gone to a separate training to talk about this, because it isn't necessarily included in what would be a more generalist clinical training.
Right. Unfortunately, it should. I firmly believe that this should be. Total overhaul about sexual health and all development. But yes, for even me doing this for a living, I sometimes am oof, I've noticed my own discomfort with asking people about these questions. So these big biases of I've avoided talking about this because I don't want to do it. So
it's uncomfortable.
Well, and as we end this today, tell us quickly about where you work.
So I work right now as a therapist at Lynn Lake in Minneapolis. My office is in the North Loop. I am in my final semester of my sex therapy certification program. And then,
which has been years.
It's been, so 12, is it 2 years? Yeah.
Okay.
Through the University of Minnesota. And then after that, I really want to become part of the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, ASECT, as it's called.
We love a good acronym.
Yes.
There's your goal.
They're so ahead of the curve with research and supporting sex therapists and sex therapy work. So.
Well, awesome.
Wow.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
So much to think about here. It's been an amazing discussion. We are going to head to a commercial break, but when we come back, we will talk through listener questions about connection in romantic relationships. So a couple more questions for you, Erica. Feels Out Loud will be back to process your thoughts in just a moment.
Then you'll find yourself. You gotta find people.
We are back again with Feels Out Loud, and this is the part of the show where we talk through questions from you, our incredible listeners. If you have a question related to mental wellness, sharing feelings, or topics for each week that you would like us to process through together, please visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com and find the Feels Out Loud page to submit a question. Or you can certainly email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. We truly do want to hear from each of you and what you are wondering about.
We had a ton of questions today, Erica. I think we need to have you back to
I
have
love to.
a whole
We need a series.
a whole thing on just questions we've had from our listeners because we have had so many questions. And the first listener shares something that I think lots of couples struggle with around connection, which is why we selected it. My spouse and I are almost completely opposites. It's really hard for us to connect when we are so different. What would you suggest for them, Erica?
Resources. I think the Gottman Institute website is fabulous. It has so many different types of books, articles, even like little card deck games. The Gottman deck is an app you can download on your phone. It has all sorts of truly fun little questions for you and your partner to just start practicing light intimacy or wanting to go deeper.
You're talking about even like conversation starters.
Yes, conversations are fun, like date night type talks.
Yep.
Getting to know your partner, especially if you've been together a long time and you want to check in with where you're at now. Otherwise, there's 1,000,001 great podcasts and books, names of people that I think are doing really awesome work in couples work and are really encouraging to different types of relationships. Terry Real is Terrence Real. Emotion focused therapy. Dr. Sue Johnson has about a few books that I know some therapists have their couples read before they even start work together.
Okay.
Talk about validation, accountability, noticing patterns in your relationship. Esther Perel's very famous podcast, Where Should We Begin, is great because you can witness a couple session and kind of hear different types of ways to talk through stuff.
Right.
Otherwise, one of my favorite books ever is The Course of Love by Alain de Botton, which is a really lovely, realistic view at relationships and might be really helpful for you to see yourself in we're people, we are flawed, we don't always agree on things, but we can still have a deep love for each other.
That makes total sense. And for this listener who says, I'm opposite from my spouse, I think even recognizing, you highlighted this so many times in the last segment that we had, that you are opposites.
Right.
So talking about the fact and being open about it and maybe even laughing about it, how different you are. And it makes me think about, from things you said just a few minutes ago, that we might have to, in an opposite type of relationship, recognize and understand that in this case, it would be a spouse, but our romantic partner is going to need connection differently than we would if they're opposite from us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and understanding that, then when this person is saying it's really hard for us to connect when we're so different, maybe because you're looking for the same ways to connect.
Yes.
And
Right.
maybe it's because you're looking for something that would meet both of your needs, and they're actually really different. Mm-hmm. So you might have to have a both and. Of you're doing things that would foster connection for you, but you're also doing things that would foster connection for your spouse. Mm-hmm. And that might be even potentially energy depleting for you. But if your spouse is opposite, I could see where you would work with us on a regular basis, that helping people see, okay, well then let's just accept that you're opposites.
Right.
And that gets to be, and that's actually really awesome, because so often what you love about someone is what drives you nuts about that person. And there are likely times for this listener that the fact that they're complete opposites is also what they so much adore about the person.
Well,
Yes. And you're learning from.
Yes, see the bid for connection. Even if it's like not your idea of what a connection is, even like that's how they try to connect with me.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. We'll drop the mic. See the bid for connection.
Yeah.
We're going to end it there because I think that's powerful. We are at the end of our show for today. Thank you for listening. Join us next week as we explore playfulness and humor with a gift we offer to our mental health and laughing at ourselves. And in the week ahead, be kind to yourself, everyone. Remember that connection fosters wellness, and your voice is one that the world around you needs to hear. Share yourselves, friends.
Some don't, some will, some won't. I wanna